A battle in Washington, D.C. that could change the nation's immigration policies is coming to a head. Today we're talking about the ongoing debate with a legal expert. And one of Indiana's own senators weighs in on the bill that's being put forward. Plus, it's time to head to the movies this summer. We're sitting down with the leaders of the Indianapolis International Film Festival as they get ready for a major celebration.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Good morning, I'm Rafael Sanchez. One of the biggest issues facing Congress right now is immigration reform. And new poll numbers, which include Hoosier Voices, are demanding action. In Washington, the bipartisan effort from the so-called Gang of Eight has a bill in place that remains very controversial. Indiana Senator Dan Coates says he's prepared to vote on a reform bill, but not until certain conditions are met. Our Norman Cox has more with the senator and now where the bill stands.
The bill currently would spend billions on new border security equipment, but Republicans say the language would only require a plan and not actual results.
We need reform because the current system is broken. People are pouring across the border still. And so I am for real good reform, but the current bill before us doesn't achieve what I think we need to achieve. Hopefully we'll be able to amend that and improve it. If not, I can't vote for it.
Coates says three areas cry out for improvement. He says border security is better, but not there yet. He says the system to ensure that employers have checked workers' immigration status is not working well at all. And he says there is no way to catch people who come here on legal temporary visas, then blend into the society and never leave. Coates says the mistake made under President Reagan to promise border controls without delivering can't be repeated.
We cannot convince the American people, fool me once, okay, but fool me twice, no good. It was exactly what was put in place in 1986. It didn't work. We can't repeat that mistake. So let's get this thing fixed, certify that it is, and then go forward.
Joining us now, an expert on the topic, immigration lawyer Angela Adams. Angela works for the law firm Lewis & Kappas and serves as the director of the immigration group with the firm. You just heard from Senator Coates. Can we get a deal in this Congress considering how controversial this bill is?
Rafael, I think I'm very optimistic. We've had meetings on the Hill and meetings here in district, and it seems that we're very encouraged by what we hear from our members of Congress that recognize that the system's broken and that something needs to be done, and that this is the year to do it.
But the system is so big, it is so complicated. Can this bill, and you know a lot about immigration law, can you actually fix this whole system with this bill?
I think that's a very good question. This bill that is before us now is much different than a few years back, and definitely much different than the amnesty of 1986. And now, looking forward, I think you're right. It is very complicated and very complex, and there is no one magic bullet that's going to fix the immigration system. And I also think it's very important to remember that we can't do it piecemeal. It needs to be a comprehensive approach in order for everybody to have some skin in the game and in order for all of these pieces to be fixed that affect each other at the same time. I'm optimistic. I think there are pieces of the bill that aren't perfect, that could use some work, but they have done a very good job of addressing the pieces of the law that are broken and that need to be fixed.
Angela, let's talk about a new poll that just came out from the Partnership for New American Economy. This poll just came out this week, and it asked Hoosiers in particular, more than 500 Hoosiers, would they support a bill that would include border security and then some sort of pathway to citizenship. And overwhelmingly, Hoosiers said that they would support it. Are you surprised by those numbers, considering the controversy that exists nationwide and in our state about the issue of undocumented workers?
I think, I'm pleasantly surprised, but I think the time, over the past few years in Indiana especially, because we've had this conversation on the local level and state level, has caused us to really understand the issue at a different level. And I think that's one positive thing that came out of the battle that we had a couple years ago at the state level. We've really been forced to kind of come together to recognize that there's a problem and to see how to fix it and recognize that it's a federal issue.
The other question that was asked, do you support or oppose immigration reform plan that ensures this, and how important is this to you to fix this year? A lot of folks said this is the year to do it. I was frankly surprised by the numbers because this poll really includes more Republicans than Democrats, more women than men, and just looking at our electorate in our state, I would have thought the numbers would have been somewhat flipped.
And you can see here, I mean, combining these numbers, 92% of people polled say it's important to do this year, and they recognize that this is the year to get it done.
But can we really, I mean, you know the law, can we really secure the border? It is a long border. It is a porous border. Can we do that and include some sort of pathway to citizenship? I mean, can both really work in tandem, or are those two different kinds of bills?
I think they definitely can work in tandem. I think that we've already seen increased border enforcement, and as Senator Coates recognized, it has improved greatly. But you know, there are triggers here that are established, and before people can get a status or RPI, registered provisional immigrant status, we have to meet some, you know, threshold numbers, and I think that that's okay to make it contingent upon that. But we have to be careful that we don't make those triggers unattainable or too high so that they actually hurt the process.
As we focus on a bill that's looking at the people that are here currently, you also work with a lot of people that are either trying to deal with their current situation. I mean, the system is broken. I mean, currently it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and we don't mean to disparage all those good public servants that work in the system and that are just doing their jobs, but the system currently, a lot of different forms, a lot of them don't make any sense. How do you fix that, and does this bill address all of that? Does it? Or do you hope it does?
It does. It does address many of those questions and concerns, and specifically with regard to dreamers, those who came here at a young age through no fault of their own, with regard to agriculture, you know, having enough workers in the fields to pick our crops, and then also with regard to just employees in general and employers who have been hurt by the system and haven't been able to fix the status of their employees that they desperately need. And then when they lose their employees, because when they find out that they are undocumented, they can't replace that workforce. So we do have a, you know, in the low and the high skills, we've got a gap in the workforce that we really, in Indiana, we need help. And in order to be competitive in a global economy, I think immigration is it's very important.
And you provided the best segue, because the governor of our state, in speaking on the issue of agriculture, had this to say a couple of weeks ago about the effect of immigration reform on Indiana and the agriculture industry. In an article published in Hoosier Ag today, the governor, in his own words, says, I still think it's possible to obtain immigration reform that meets the needs of our economy, especially our agricultural economy, but I hope we can achieve that in a way that confirms our commitment to border security and the rule of law. Again, is it possible to do both? And it seems just so complicated to get all these sides to agree on those major issues.
I definitely think it's possible, and I think in order for us to do this in a way that does fix the system, everyone needs to have some skin in the game. If we're just, you know, serving one interest group, then the other interest groups aren't going to be, you know, at the table. And I think we have to have everybody at the table. Everybody has to have a stake in this in order to get it done. And I think that this bill, the Senate bill, and hopefully a future House bill, will do that.
Angela Adams with Lewis and Kappas, we thank you so much. Please come back to Indianapolis this week. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we'll see how the bill progresses through Congress.
Thank you very much.
When we return, we'll be joined by our political insiders to get their take on the debate over immigration. Plus, Governor Mike Pence deals with his first veto override, the impact on his relationship with those in the State House. Joining us now are two of our political insiders, Republican Jennifer Hollowell and Democrat Laura Beck. We just heard from Angela Adams on the issue of immigration. Is it really possible to get both sides to agree on this bill, which one group wants border security, the other one is pushing for pathway to citizenship? Can we get both sides to agree on this issue?
I think that we can. It just depends on how they approach it. Everyone agrees that we need something, that we need immigration reform. You know, the devil is in the details on this, but we have to focus on the areas where there's consensus. And if the President and the Senate are willing to do that, then I think we can see something pass. But right now the problem is there are lots of amendments that are going through the process. It's still very early in the process, and so we don't know what are going to be the final details in this bill. And the Democrats, frankly, have put some poison pills in here that if they stay in the legislation, or if they make their way through in amendments, then Republicans aren't going to support it, and they know that. So I think the bottom line is, are Democrats really interested in getting reform passed, or are they interested in using this as a political issue?
Are you?
And that's how we'll find out.
I think we're very interested. I mean, I think Democrats are really on the front line of this. The issue that Democrats are running into is you have extremists out there who are in the Tea Party, who are the right-wing extremists, who are making a very unfortunate racist case against people who came here with their families, such as you're looking at an entire generation of younger Americans who came here because their parents wanted a better life for them. And you've got folks who say, yeah, you're going back to your own country. You know, we're looking at those type of issues. So as part of what we're trying to do to move forward on this is to find that consensus. But I think to label it that Democrats are going to tank it is unfair.
Let's look at these poll numbers. This is from a group that put out some numbers earlier this week from the Partnership for New American Economy. They asked people, would you be more than likely or less likely to vote for an elected official who votes for this legislation, which would both include border security and a pathway to citizenship. Based on these 500 plus Hoosiers, they said, yes, we would vote for someone who supports the legislation. Is this reality? I mean, are the senators, both Democrats and Republicans, looking at the next election cycle saying, if I vote for this, I'll get booted out. If I don't vote for this, I may get in trouble. What's the rationale here?
Well, I don't know if you can look at a vote singularly like this that's going to push somebody out of office.
Yeah,
I mean, but look at somebody like Kelly. Look at somebody like Kelly Ayotte in New Hampshire. I mean, she took the very unpopular stance on the gun responsibility bill with the background check. So, you know, is that going to push her out, or where she is on immigration going to push her out? So I don't think you can look to just one specific thing that's going to push someone in or out.
And I get that, but listen, but aren't Republicans in some way, or Democrats, you get to pick, ladies, counting on this block of voters? Do they believe that if they don't pass this reform, that this block of voters may favor them in the next presidential cycle? I mean, is that what we're looking at, really?
But
who's going to vote for who?
That's part of my point. That Democrats want to use this issue and try to get everything that they want, and would rather sacrifice the bill and be able to say, look, Republicans don't support immigration reform. And that's not the case. There really are areas of consensus that can be met if Democrats want to see this go forward. And Republicans will vote for that legislation, but it has to have border security and...
I think, thank you for letting me jump in. I think that Republicans have realized that they are missing a huge block of voters, and that if they don't do something now, they're going to be lost forever. And I think that's why some of them are. Let's
talk about Republicans in the State House. The supermajority overrode a veto from the governor this week. Let's listen to what the Speaker of the House, Brian Bosma, had to say.
And reasonable conservative minds can disagree on the best course of action, and that letter went out after a number of very cordial and respectful phone conversations, so there's no problem. It's not personal. It's just the right thing to do. That's why we have 3 separate branches of government.
How does the governor recover from this? Is this just the way things are going to be for the next 3 years? I mean, he has a supermajority that pretty much said, hey, if we don't like what you had to say, we're going to override it. Should that have happened?
This is not a big issue. Democrats want to paint it as a big issue, but it isn't. The fact of the matter is the vote was taken and we move on. There isn't any lasting impact from this between the legislators and the governor. There truly isn't. So it's kind of...
I would disagree with that. I will point out that this is the same Department of Revenue that lost $500 million, which forced us to make some really austere cuts in education, and they missed this one again. But I will say though that I do think that it has been a fascinating session to watch, because the governor didn't get everything he wanted with his tax cut. Now they're overriding this where he basically in his letter called it an illegal tax. So the question is, did some of these legislators violate their no tax pledges, number one, because a lot of them made no tax pledges, and then number two, will you see primaries in May? May of 2014, will this push the governor to say, hey, I need more of my people in here, less of them?
She would love for this to be some big issue.
Oh, I can talk about this all day long.
But you're not going to, so you go ahead.
I'm not going to. She can talk.
And as plenty of people said, there's plenty of blame to go around in terms of how this mistake happened in the first place, as to why this legislation was needed on the local side as well. But the bottom line is, local elected officials, the people who are running their cities and counties, have come to the legislature asked for this relief, and that's what, you know, that's what started it. So it's not a big issue. It's not going to be a big issue in the Republican Party, no matter how much the Democrats want it to be.
A big issue in the city of Indianapolis in 2014 may be clean energy. When we see many electric cars on our cities here in the capital city, is this going to change the image of Indianapolis? We maybe have one of the largest electric car sharing programs in the country.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's really exciting. So one of the largest 500 companies in the world has chosen Indianapolis after looking at cities all across the country, across Asia. They chose Indianapolis for this program, and it really puts Indianapolis on the map as a progressive city doing all sorts of things. And the reason they chose Indianapolis, by the way, is because of the leadership of Mayor Greg Ballard, who last year came out and launched an initiative to switch all of the city cars over to electric vehicles.
By 2025, is clean energy a Republican issue or Democratic issue? Because when I often think about energy and the environment, I think of Democrats for whatever reason. But it seems like the mayor really has the upper hand on this issue.
Well, I would definitely say that Mayor Ballard, I think because of his background and I think because of his interest in this, has really made this an issue for him. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that at the statewide level. But he really is emerging. I do think, and I will definitely give him that, that he is emerging as a leader in this area nationwide. And I think you're going to see him doing that. The issue, though, becomes when you're focusing on this downtown, when you're building your cricket stadium, and I won't be able to take the electric car to cricket. I'm disappointed about that. But what about those infrastructure issues that he really ran on early on? And so those become issues when you're in that second term.
Car sharing isn't downtown. Car sharing goes across the entire city, and the point is so people can get to the museums, to the
I think
malls,
car sharing is exciting as long as we can go to
we
cricket.
love each other on a Sunday. We had peace for just
we'll car share to
a
cricket.
few seconds. That's right. Stay up to date with our political insiders anytime. Lara, Jennifer, Kip, and Abdul on our Capitol Watch blog. You can find the link on our webpage, theindychannel.com. After the break, we're gearing up for a summer full of movies in Indianapolis with the International Film Festival. We're sitting down with the leaders of the organization, so please don't go away. Pretty soon, film fans from all over will be gathering in Indy for the Indianapolis International Film Festival as it celebrates its 10th year. Joining us now are two leaders of the festival, Craig Mintz, the president and COO, along with Jason Raymer, the vice president of the organization. This has become an amazing and major event in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it has. Over the last 10 years, this festival has grown leaps and bounds from a small 3-day fledgling kind of international film festival to this 10-day beast of a festival that brings in tons of people to the city.
Do you find it that you have to explain to people why Indianapolis? I mean, this is not Sundance, this is not the Cannes Film Festival. Do you find that you have to say, no, we have great films and art right here?
Yeah, it's one of those things where we have to, well, we work really hard to bring them to Indianapolis to be able to explain to the local folks that, you know, these films are out there. You know, you got to seek them out and come check them out, and definitely to like the filmmakers in the studios to get them to look towards Indianapolis for some of these films, to get exhibition to show to the local market.
The amount of responses has been out of this world.
Yeah.
600 submissions. Will you folks be able to watch all 600?
That's a lot of movies.
That's a lot of movie, a lot of popcorn, a lot of soda.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of submissions this year. We start watching movies at the beginning of the year, so January. We just wrapped up watching the last one in May. So it is a long process. There's a whole screening committee, so there's a group of folks that get together to watch the films, and then they take some film homes and watch them on their own time as well. So it's not one person watching everything. It's a group of people that all film fans that, you know, want to continue to bring good films to Indianapolis.
Jason, what do you think makes this place, our city, a destination for folks to feel comfortable enough to say, you know what, this is a great place to show my film, or, and to make a film as well?
Yeah, you know, it's been interesting to see the organization evolve over the past 10 years, and kind of as our mission is to create a shared experience around film, and that has, in the last few years, has inspired us to extend our year-long programming. So we've introduced different programs like Roving Cinema, where we show cult classic films in appropriate places. Last month we were down in the catacombs underneath the city market and showed Fight Club.
That's a cool place to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of doing those kind of programs throughout the year, spring and fall series, showing independent films and introducing more and different films to our Indianapolis market. We've found that the reception has just been enormous, that people are just anxious to see what's next that we're going to bring to them. And that's opened up people to what we do for those 10 days in July.
And you'll get the party started later this week on June the 20th. So what can people do on June the 20th, and where should they go?
Okay, so June 20th is our sneak peek party. It takes place at Big Car Service Center on the basically on the corner of 38th and Lafayette. And we announced the entire lineup from opening night to closing night and all the films in between. It's a free event. There'll be food and beverage for sale at Big Car, and it's just a really fun time, and a lot of people get kind of the first reaction to the big films that are coming to the market. They also get an opportunity to buy tickets at a discounted price. So
we all love a discount.
Yeah, everybody loves a discount.
And a little coupon, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. But the big event is in July, right? 10 days of just watching movies. Is it from morning to night? I mean...
We have, it's 10 days, July 18th to the 28th. We're programming out at the IMA. And then this year we're introducing a new component to kind of celebrate our 10th year of doing this.
Yeah, we're going to branch out into the community again this year. Last year we added a second venue, and this year we're actually going to a different venue every night, highlighting the city of Indianapolis. So every night during the festival we'll actually go to a different venue, and we have a movie that's actually kind of themed to that venue, an independent film. So we want everybody to come out to the 20th, so we're not going to kind of drop any hints as to what it is, but some really, really neat venues in the city and some really great films to go with them.
Indianapolis Film Festival. It's going to be an exciting time. Gentlemen, thank you for coming to Indianapolis this week.
Thank you very much for having us.
Very much.
Let's go to the movies, and we'll be right back after the break. This Sunday, we pay respects to Dear Dad, whether he's with you or living in your heart. Father's Day was first celebrated in 1910 statewide in the state of Washington. President Woodrow Wilson acknowledged the day in 1916, but it was President Richard Nixon who signed a proclamation in 1972 setting aside a day to honor all fathers. So on this Sunday, happy Father's Day. That's it for this edition of Indianapolis This Week. Have a great day and join Drew Smith tonight for RTV6 News at 6.